Hi guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video, and today is time for another weekly wrap-up, things that I've been reading over the past week. And yeah, I've had a quite busy weekend, so I haven't been reading much this weekend, but I still managed to finish 4 things and I'm very happy about that. So let's get into the books that I finished over the past week. The first thing that I finished over the past week was Wrapup by Pratchett. This is book 11 in the Discworld series, and it's the second book set in the sub-series about death. This particular book follows Death as he's fired from his job as Death because he's grown too much of a personality. That's basically the reason for him being disposed of, if you will. And this book sort of takes the subject, what happens if Death is not around, to make sure the people are dying. Because if Death is not there to do his job, then all of those people who are supposed to die, they don't die, they just become undead. And all of that, what happens to these people, and that sort of topic. And I thought that was really funny and interesting concept to read about. So that is the basic gist of this book, and I thought that Pratchett did a really great job in capturing this and discussing these things and why death is as much as part of life as birth is. So yeah, I thought that part of it was really, really well done. So let's get into the breakdown of this. First off, the characters get a 10 out of 10. It's not a secret to anyone who's new to my channel that I love the Discworld books, and I especially enjoy Death. Death is one of my favorite characters, and especially this particular book just segmented for me that he definitely is one of my absolute favorites from this world. Death is not only, yeah, he has a personality. He has such an interesting sort of humor, and he wants to understand humans and what they're going through. After he was let go of his job, he needed to find something else to do. So he took up the job as helper at this corn farm of the cornfields, Billy Dorr, and just all of the things that he experienced while not being dead was so interesting. And then all of the things with perspectives we saw from other people in the Discworld who were supposed to die but didn't die because Death wasn't around. So that transition period until they found another one to take over Death's job, and how's that gonna go when they try to find someone new to do that job? Are they gonna be doing the job the same way? And that whole discussion was amazing. That is not exactly about the characters, but it just showed so many different types of characters, and Pratchett did a really great job in showing these characters, so I give that a 10 out of 10. The atmosphere get a 10 out of 10 because Discworld is one of my favorite places. The writing gets a 10 out of 10 because even though I have loved Pratchett's writing in previous books as well, I think that in this one he definitely upped it, even more than he's done previously. And the plot gets a 10 out of 10. I love this plot. I thought the discussion surrounding life and death and all of that, what happens, that was so interesting. So yeah, it's no surprise that the intrigue is a 10 out of 10. I just didn't want this book to stop. I actually wanted it to be longer. I wanted to figure out more, but it stopped in a perfect way. So yeah, 10 out of 10 of that. And the logic, I have no thing to put here. Everything, there was nothing that stood out that was supposed to be bad. Everything was just perfect, and I thought that there was so many logical reasons for him writing this plot, and all of the messages he got through. So 10 out of 10. So overall enjoyment also gets a 10 out of 10. It's the first time ever this has happened since I do this review system, but 10 out of 10 complete score. And yeah, so this has basically become one of my absolute favorite Discworld novels so far, and I'm so happy that I have so many more books to still read. And overall score is 10 out of 10, so that means it's 5 out of 5 stars. No surprise there. Next book that I read, The Summer of Jodi Perez by Amy Spalding. This is a newer 2018 release. This is a contemporary lesbian romance, and it's also a plus-size protagonist. And it follows this girl. I'll put the name here because I can't remember at this point. I'm very tired, if you can't tell. But it follows her. She takes up an internship to to expand her career, and she's supposed to do all the social media sort of updates, and she, on day-to-day basis, runs a fashion blog for plus size women. And another one who also takes up an apprenticeship is Jordi Perez, who is a photographer. And so they decide to take in 2 different people to work with this woman, and one of them is supposed to become part of this team, not as an intern, but as a full-time job, or as someone who gets this position. It doesn't take a long time before our main character falls in love with Jordi Perez and all of that. And that is basically the gist of this plot. Let's get to the breakdown of this book. The characters, I give them a 6 out of 10 because they're not my favorites, but there are parts of them that I really liked. I like the fact that we saw it from a girl who was plus size, like that representation was pretty well, and she was having this blog. The only thing that nagged me about her was that even though she was having this blog, she was really confident about fashion styles and how to dress well as a plus size and still do the best with your figure as you have. And she was really successful at that, but still all the time she was super insecure, which I guess I can understand. But she, even if she kept telling other women that you're beautiful when they decided to dress like this, she herself didn't see herself as any kinds of beauty. And I found that a little bit weird in the whole grand scheme of things, that she couldn't see anything beautiful about herself, even though that she was this fashion blogger and obviously knew a lot about it. So that just took something off of me. I enjoyed Jordi for the most part as well. I think that she was a pretty good character. And another thing about the main character that I didn't like was her way of dealing with her parents. I don't know why parents are always made to be the worst people in the whole world in these type of books, and I would like to see more healthier parent or family relationships in my book. And I didn't really get that. She kept nagging at her mom. I know that her mom probably had some not so great ways of viewing her at times, but she never let her give her a chance to actually explain what she was trying to do. She always thought beforehand what was going on, that her mother had this specific opinion without letting her mother actually speak her opinion. And I thought that was a little bit weird. I mean, I think that the author could have handled that a bit differently if they were supposed to show her as a horrible parent, which I find an overused trope. Then at least show it to us instead of letting the main character say what she thinks that her mother is going to be saying and not letting her speak her mind. I thought that was a bit weird, and so I give the characters a 6 out of 10. The atmosphere gets an 8 out of 10. It was what I was looking for. It was good contemporary. It was a summertime setting, and I really enjoyed for the most part, enjoyed the relationship between Jordi and the main character. The writing gets a 6 out of 10 because I enjoyed it for the most part, but then there was other parts where I found it a little jarring and a little bit in the dialogue and a little bit juvenile at places. So yeah, the plot gets a 7 out of 10. I thought that it was a great plot, but it could have been executed a bit better than it was. And for the intrigue, I was pretty hooked for the most part, but not as much as I was hoping for. So I give that a 7 out of 10. And the logic gets a 6 out of 10 because there are some things about this that I have a hard time understanding why there's always such a big need with teenage drama. I, even as a teenager, hated all of the drama between my friends, and I will never understand why that needed to happen. So yeah, I don't understand. I have never been able to understand that. So 6 out of 10. And the overall enjoyment gets a 7 out of 10 because for the most part I enjoyed it, but then there was those things that really annoyed me. So yeah. And it ends up with a score on 6.71, and it gives them 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was A Mistake, a Prince, and a Pregnancy. This is a Harlequin book, but it's also sort of a marriage of a convenience thing. It follows this girl called Allison who is pregnant, and she is a single woman. She doesn't want a guy in her life. She's decided that she wanted to raise this kid as her own as a single mother, and so she's been fertilized. So she's had taken this fertility program to get pregnant and stuff. The thing is, she has had a bit of a rough childhood with that she lost her sister at a really young age because of a very serious illness. And so she wants to know if there's any chance that her kid might have that disease. But she didn't have it, so she wanted to make sure that the male didn't have it so that he could give that to the baby. And so she seeks out this man who's supposed to be a father. They're usually not allowed. You're not allowed to know who the father is if you get sperm from a sperm bank. But for some reason she knows this, and it turns out to be a prince. And he is immediately decides that the only solution is that they get married because he's the next heir to her throne, and he has had difficulties getting a baby with his former wife, who passed away in a car accident or something like that. Anyway, so their lives get intermingled like that, and yeah. Let's go to the breakdown because I'm gonna get into this. For the characters, I liked Allison. I thought she was a pretty decent person. She was dealing with some things that definitely understand why she considered raising this baby on her own. But Maximo, who was the male lead, was terrible. Like, the way that I can see why some people would like parts of him. But the way that he talked to her when there's something he had disagreed on was terrible. And he was like, if you're pregnant with my baby, the only solution is marriage. We need to get married no matter what, because I say so. And marriage should never be, is never the only solution to a problem. I agree that it's a good solution for the most part. I have had both a father and a mother. It's great for the kid. So if it works out, then that's the better solution. But sometimes it doesn't, and these people, they don't know each other at all. And if it wasn't because she needed to know about this disease, they would have never met. He would not have known about this particular baby, and I just found that a little odd. So yeah, the characters get a 4 out of 10 because he drags it down so much. Yeah. The atmosphere was one I didn't really enjoy for the most part. I mean, and I give that atmosphere 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think that the author created a good atmosphere for these characters. And the writing gets a 6 out of 10. I think that some places it was good, the writing, but then the dialogue wasn't super great all the time, and so I thought that could have been better. I only read this for my romance bingo because I needed a Harlequin romance. So yeah, Marriage of Convenience will never be something I'll super enjoy. I don't think. Possibly in a historical setting will be better, but I still don't think so. It should be, yeah, different. I don't know. So 3 out of 10 stars for that. The intrigue. This was a really short book, and I was happy about that, so I could go through it pretty quickly. So I give that a 3 out of 10. And logic gets a 2 out of 10. As I said, marriage is never the only solution to a problem with a baby. Never. There's always other solutions. Always think about the baby first and yourself afterward. And then you'd come to the right solution afterwards. I don't know. But that was annoying me a lot. Finally, the overall enjoyment gets a 4 out of 10 because some things were okay, but then there was a lot of things that was not okay. And this gives an overall score of 3.71, and that gives an overall star rating of 2.5 stars. And now into the graphic novel that I finished, and that was Bravest Warriors Volume 1. I decided to start out with this one. This is part of my ebook haul that I have been doing recently. And this is about a group of characters that travels to different planets, helping solving different problems that they have on their planets. In this case, they have to go to this planet where there's a lot of clowns. I don't like clowns, but there was a clowns, and they were really sad because someone took away their happiness. And so they really needed their help to help solve that problem. So that is the basic gist. Let's get into the breakdown. The characters gets a 5 out of 10. I definitely would like to see some more development with these characters. They were a bit juvenile at times, and I don't think they did very much for me as characters. The art style gets an 8 out of 10. I like the art. I thought that the art was pretty good, and it changed with different time periods and stuff. In that way, it changed a couple of times, and I like both art styles. The writing gets a 6 out of 10 because I thought that the dialogue was a little juvenile at times, and the switching between the times was not very good. I mean, I don't think that the switching between those times worked well in the writing sense, in the storytelling sense, but the art was good. The plot gets a 6 out of 10 because some parts of it I like, but it wasn't really done very well. And the overall enjoyment gets a 6 out of 10. It didn't hold my attention as much as I thought it was gonna be. So yeah, 6 out of 10. The logic gets a 4 out of 10 because there were just some things that just didn't work for me with this sort of story, and it was just a little too silly, and yeah, didn't really like that. And so my overall enjoyment gets a 5 out of 10 because it wasn't terrible, but it was not very good either. But I'm gonna try out the next volume since I have the first 3 and see how it changes. But I give the overall score rating is 5.71, which equals to 3 out of 5 stars. These were the 4 things that I finished over the past week. I don't know if I have time to tell you about the books that I'm reading currently, but I've been working a little bit on The Death Zone by Stephen King. I read up to page 100, I think. I'm hoping that I'll make more progress of this over the next week, as I'm getting closer to the end of the month, and I would like to finish this, so that I can move on to the next Stephen King. And yeah, so far it's a little quiet. There's not a whole lot of things happening because he's in a coma still, so I don't know. But the other book that I've also been working on has been Dødens Terning, which is in English is called Death's Die, and I think it's interesting because I started it right after I finished Wrapup, and this also takes up the same topic of what happens if death can't do his job and people don't die when they're supposed to die. Because in this one, the difference is that death loses a die that determines how long a person has left of his life. And so Philip, who is the main character in this series, is swept back into hell to help figuring out who stole this die and what are their purposes. And so that is basically what this one is about. This is a little bit darker and stuff, but the ultimate discussion and topics are the same as in Wrapup. Just Wrapup was more humorous and lighter in its way of telling it, whereas this is a little bit darker, but still has a really interesting discussion about this thing. And I'm about close to halfway, a little over a third of the way through it, and I'm enjoying it. Other than that, I don't know what I'm planning on reading over the next week. We'll have to see. I'm also working on Taste of Marrow by Sarah Gailey. I've read the first 3 chapters of that book, and I'm hoping that I will finish that over the next week. I was supposed to read a chapter a day, but it didn't happen because I was so tired when I went to bed that I couldn't even focus on reading a whole chapter. I read like 1 page in my graphic novel and I fell asleep, so yeah. I'm gonna see if I can finish that over the next week as well. I've already been filming for half an hour. Hopefully I can edit a lot of this out. But this was all I read over the past week. Let me know in the comments down below what you've been reading over the past week, and if you have any recommends to me. As always, have you read any of the books that I've been reading, and what were your thoughts on them? And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye.